Well, welcome back to the Market Day Report, and as promised, we dive on into the commodity market, see what's going on in the grain as well as the livestock complex. And we've got some down numbers for this second trading day of the week, but also some upside action taking place on the livestock side. With that, let's check in with Rich Nelson joining us. Of course, Rich has some insight for us as to what is taking place in the commodity markets today. And Rich, what is your take here for this Tuesday's session?
Obviously kind of a quiet action for today's discussion. Corn up maybe 1 cent, soybeans up 2 to 3. Discussions right now still centered on those crop tour going on, as we are now seeing reports as far as yields here for Nebraska and also for Indiana. And actually in the initial phases, and the initial reaction right now is maybe some good strong yields for the first findings of these states going on here as far as today's discussion.
Rich, are you finding that to be a surprise from what you'd heard leading up to this tour?
I think that's definitely is going to be considered a surprise. The way we've kind of computed out their day one totals, they actually would have implied larger corn production than what USDA would have implied on that side, maybe slightly lower on soybeans, but certainly the big question for all of us was corn, meaning how well did this pollination go when 40% of it was done in excess heat initially. So our initial findings may be a bit surprising as far as the corn discussion.
Now, what about as far as soybeans are concerned? Of course, I know there's a lot of potential still left in the clouds, getting some precipitation through the month of August that could bring some more power to the table, so to speak, for soybeans.
That is a great discussion, and right now the trade more or less has some very sky-high viewpoints on soybean yields, even those areas which did have problems initially. For instance, South Dakota and much of Nebraska, these guys have got a good soybean crop, so we're probably not going to see any big surprises on this end regarding their soybean numbers here.
And Rich, as far as the wheat market is concerned, Minneapolis has been the market that's kind of broken out away from Kansas City and Chicago, but today it's kind of the narrow trading range.
It certainly has. And as far as this wheat discussion on the winter wheat contracts, the KC in Chicago, obviously we're seeing some more or less lower trade, 4 to 5 cents. And like you mentioned, this Minneapolis only down 1. Right now, I would say this is probably just a one-day issue, perhaps some profit taking on what's been quite an unusual change as far as that spread.
All right. Well, Rich, if you'll hold on just a moment, we'll talk a little livestock here in just a minute. Again, Rich Nelson with Allendale joining us over the phone. With that, let's take a look at the corn market in Chicago at the CME Group. And at this moment, we've got September down 1.5 pennies at 347.5. December new crop down 1 3/4. That's at 361.25 cents. As for the soybean complex, the nearby September contract up 3 cents at 935.5. November up 2 3/4. That's at $9.39. The deferred May contract up 3 cents at 963 3/4. Over into the the Chicago wheat complex, September down 4 3/4 at 404 3/4. December down 5.5. That's at 431.5 cents. Into the Kansas City complex, nearby September down a nickel at 402 3/4. December down 5 1/4 at 430.5. And into the Minneapolis exchange, as we talked, the narrow trading range right now, September down 1 1/4. That's at 653 3/4. December down 3/4 at 668 1/4. However, the May and July contract dipping on the upside. We've got May up 1/2 penny, July up 1 3/4 cents. Stay with us. We've got a rundown of what's taking place in your cattle and the hog complex. That's next on your Market Day Report. Coming back to take a look at what's going on in the commodity markets. We had a couple slides come up here showing the gold market significantly lower, but the dollar a little bit higher here on the day. And with that, we do turn our attention over to the livestock complex. And Rich Nelson is joining us once again. Rich is based out of Northeast Illinois. And Rich, we have a report coming out this afternoon that I understand you guys are going to stay tuned in for.
That's exactly right. The monthly cold storage report, normally not a big market mover in terms of the trade's attention, but it is something we do have to watch. As far as the pork numbers, we're expecting 564.3 million pounds to be found, and this, of course, at the end of July. And as far as the beef numbers out at 2 o'clock, 420.6 million pounds is our own numbers there. So we'll see if we get some type of discussion as far as the cold storage. Maybe not a big mover, but we'll see. Biggest attention for this week is probably on the cash cattle side of things. Right now, we're all waiting on bids here to be seen for the week. As of yet, nothing has been posted. And this certainly comes after a very tough week where the average price last week was $109.68, a full $5 lower than last week. So we'll see what happens with this cold storage report. But as of right now, the livestock market's kind of quiet here.
And any last thoughts as far as the hog markets are concerned?
And as far as the hog discussion, looks like we've seen cash hog prices fall in the past 9 days straight. Looks like on this end, we're still seeing some pressure develop and probably will continue to do so over the next couple of weeks.
All right. Well, Rich, if anybody has any questions and would like to get in touch with you, how could they do so?
We've got a simple phone number. It's 1-800-2 and then market.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with us again, talking with Rich Nelson with Allendale, based out of Northeast Illinois, joining us on the phone from McHenry. So with that, let's take a look at the cattle trade in Chicago. Right now, we've got the nearby August contract up 60 cents. That's at 106.60. October up $1.37 at 107.22, while December is up $1.53 at 109.58. As for the feeder cattle contracts, we've got some upside action there as well. August up $1.70 at 141.5. September up $2.37 at 141.52. As Rich said, let's take a look at the cash cattle trade. And of course, it's just Tuesday, so things are typically quiet as far as cash cattle markets are concerned. Last week, the cash cattle market was down $5 from the week prior, so no numbers to report as of yet today. Of course, distribution of new show lists is pretty well how they spend most of Monday, so pretty quiet so far. As for the lean hogs, we've got October down 36 cents at 64.32, December down 45, that's at 59.40, and February down 67 at 63.95. And Rich mentioned the lean hog cash trade and what's taking place in the cash hog markets across the countryside. And as usual, things a little bit quiet, of course, limited reporting action. However, we do have the national average price coming in at 71.85. Iowa pegged at 71.68. Western Corn Belt coming in at $71.72. So there you have it, a rundown of what's taking place in the livestock markets, Christina.
Okay, we'll keep watching it.
Absolutely.
Interesting day so far.